Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Helen Owoshini and I am a YouTuber living in Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada. I make videos about life in Canada, how to make settling in easier for new immigrants, and I also just basically share my experiences living here in Regina. If this is something that you're interested in or that you would like, please do also subscribe to my channel and also share my channel with your friends and your family and turn on post notifications. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about early childcare in Canada, what it's like to have your child in early childcare. So the school age in Canada is 5, but if you have a child that is less than 5, you would want to drop off your child in some form of care while you're maybe going to work or going to school, or you just even need some me time. Now we have majorly two types of childcare facilities available. We have the licensed one and the unlicensed one. Now saying unlicensed does not necessarily mean it is bad or don't take your children there or it's illegal or anything like that. No, it's just that they don't have a license, but the government is aware that they exist and they have been approved and registered by the government. Now majorly when it comes to the unlicensed ones, I have observed that most of them are done in homes. So like, let's say me, I don't want to work in corporate, I don't want to have a regular maybe corporate job or whatever, and I just want to stay at home and look after my kids. I can decide to start a daycare facility in my house. Okay, so that's just what an example of an unlicensed daycare may look like. We also have some licensed daycares that are done in the homes, but most of them are unlicensed and they operate out of their homes. So I'm just going to be telling you guys some characteristics or some features of the licensed one and the unlicensed one, and you can from there just have the information to maybe help you make an informed decision. I'm not going to say, oh, this one is bad or this one is good or take your children. No, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm just going to share my experiences or what I know about each of them. Now my child has gone to both of those kinds of daycare, so I'm just going to be sharing my knowledge about those types of daycare. Now I'm going to start with the unlicensed one. Just like I mentioned, it doesn't mean that it's illegal. The only time it's illegal is if you have more children than the government has approved you to take care of. So if I, for example, I just don't want to work in maybe in a corporate role or whatever, I just want to stay at home and look after my child, I can decide to start a daycare business in my home. Maybe I have a big house, or maybe I have a backyard in my house, you know, that kind of thing. I'll say, oh, just bring your kids to come and stay with me while I look after them, while you do whatever it is that you want to do. So that's just, and the government of Saskatchewan has said that for somebody like that, you can only have 8 children under your care. Now where it becomes illegal, like I mentioned, is when you have 10 children or 12 children, because some people actually do stuff like that. So that's wrong. Don't put your children in those kind of care because it's illegal. So that's just what a, let me just call it home daycare, let me not say unlicensed. So that's what home daycare typically looks like. Now one way in which this may be good is if you have a child who does not like to be in a large crowd, you know, or if your child isn't just used to too many people, if your child just likes that homely vibe, like they're at home, you know, that kind of thing, this may be a good option for you. I remember when I first had my daughter, the first day we went to church, she was just restless, she was crying, you know, that kind of thing. But obviously she has outgrown that stage. So if you have a child who's not just used to having so many people around, seeing so many faces, the home care center may be a good option for you. The second thing, I'm sorry, I'm going to be looking down, I have my my journal here, so I'm looking down. Second thing about the home care center is that the owner is in charge. When I mean the owner is in charge, it means that the owner just runs things in the daycare. So it's basically what I want to teach that I'll teach the kids, is what I want to feed them that I'll feed them with. It's what I want them to, the activities that I want the children to do are basically just from me. And now let me, if I'm saying that I'm even if I am the one running the activities, it doesn't mean that I do not have some qualifications that may enable me to be a, you know, child caregiver. There are some certifications that some people do to get this certificate and be able to take care of children. So I am just basically running my business. Okay, I am the one taking care of your kids, I am the one saying what they should do, when they should do it. I'm the one putting out instructions, nap time, activities, playtime. I'm basically just the one in charge. So that kind of business may be good if you do not want to be reporting to somebody. You get that kind of thing. You just want to run your business at your own pace, do your own thing at your own pace, at your own time. So this may be a good option. Now, before you would take your child to that kind of setting, of course you have to trust the caregiver, because if I'm going to be doing, I'm not answerable to anybody. You can't just bring your child to come, and of course you have to maybe have a relationship with me, or you must have maybe somebody referred you, that kind of thing. So you have to be very sure of who you're entrusting your child to while you're away, or while you're doing whatever it is that you're doing. So that's just the, I'm not answerable to anybody, so to speak. I just do what activities I feel like I should give the kids to do. I feed them what I think they should be eating, and things like that. The third thing I would like to say about home child care, which I think may be a disadvantage, is that on days that I have an emergency, for example, or if I am sick, that means there's no school for your child. So there's no backup, unless I have maybe gotten an assistant or somebody else. But if it's just me, which in most cases is usually just the owner of the business that runs everything, on days that I have an emergency, maybe somebody, I'm unable to show up that day, that means that you have to look out for where to put your children to, which may not be a very good thing if you're somebody who's working. That means you'd have to call your employer as a parent to say, oh sorry, I can't come in today because my child has to stay at home, or that kind of thing. Or if I'm sick, maybe as the caregiver, as the home caregiver, I would say, oh, I'm sorry, I can't have kids in my home today because I am sick and I don't want to transfer, cold or whatever. So that means that you would have to look out for alternatives for your children. So I think that may be a disadvantage. So what you can do, if this kind of daycare is what you're looking at, is try and ask questions like, okay, what happens on days when you're sick? What happens on days where you have an emergency? Is there a backup, or are you affiliated with some other daycare center where we can put our kids to? Just have that kind of knowledge, because emergencies can happen. And it's not even just emergencies. It could be, I want to go on vacation. I mean, I've worked all year from January till December, and I can say, okay, from December 15 I want to go on vacation, till January the following year. So where are you going to put your kids from that December 15 till January of the following year? Not all offices will close, so some children still need to go to daycare. So just find out what their plans are for emergencies, or for sick days, or for vacation, that kind of thing, so that you can help to make an informed decision. So my fourth point about home care center is that because it's in a house, right, all the kids are together. So that means regardless of the age of the child, they are all in the same space. So in a particular home care center, you can find people who are 18 months, you can find people who are 4 years old, you can find people who are toddlers, you can find infants, you can find all ages. This may be an advantage if you have maybe 2 children that you want to put in this daycare. So maybe you don't want, how siblings want to be with each other now, they want to be in the same class, they want to go to the same school. If you have 2 kids and that you want them to be in the same class or in the same care, this may be a good option for you, because all the kids are kept together. The fifth thing that I have noticed about these home care centers is that, I don't know how this may sound, but I feel like they are more community based. So I went to an Asian daycare, and I observed that majority of the children there were Asians. I went to a Nigerian, or when I say Nigerian or Asian, I mean owned by an Asian or owned by a Nigerian. I observed that majority of the kids there, or all of the kids there, were Nigerians. So I think it's like maybe community, it's a community thing. So if you want your children to be in that same community or have that same vibe of community, this may be a good option. I also even heard of someone who said their daycare was also teaching Spanish. So sometimes the owner of the daycare speaks Spanish to the children, or speaks Mandarin or whatever language, or even maybe Yoruba, so that the children can also learn that language. So if this is something that you may be interested in, I feel like this may be a good option. So just to have that closeness to home, at least your children will be, you're sure that your children will be eating jollof rice or that kind of, they'll be close to homes. Now let me go on to the licensed daycare centers. Usually these licensed daycare centers, they are more like, they are bigger, they are in like a commercial space. So most importantly, to even know if it's licensed, if you go on the website of the government of Saskatchewan, you will see that, oh, these are the licensed daycare center. So you can use that to know whether the daycare that you want you put your child in is licensed or not. So they are very visible. You can't not, I mean, you will not be able to pass them. They're even in locations where, because of their presence there, those areas are now like school zone areas, you know. But if I'm doing daycare in my house, I cannot come and put school zone in front of my house because it's not a school zone. But those licensed daycares, most times, like I said, they can be in very strategic positions so that you would know that there's a school in that area. Also, like I mentioned, you can also have licensed daycare centers that are done in the houses or done in the homes, but I really don't know what those ones are like. I don't know, I don't really have much experience or knowledge about them. But the licensed one that I'm aware of, they are very visible, they are in your face, they are on the government of Saskatchewan website, they are in areas where they have now put school zones so that you know that children are always around that area. So the very first point I'd like to make, or the second point about this licensed daycare, is that they are under the supervision of the government. Everything they do is from the government. Their curriculum, they have a structure that they follow. They have a curriculum from the government. Everything, basically, their activities. See, if you know anything about the government of Canada, they take children very seriously. So these daycare centers have everything given. Before you can even get the license, it's not even a small thing. So they are literally under the supervision of the government. Their activities, their curriculum, their food, there are even CCTV cameras installed in this daycare center. So because of that, the should I call them teachers, or the caregivers, are on their toes, like, because know that they are being watched. Do you understand? So they are very, very strict, very, very concerned about what happens in the daycare. They're concerned about their sanitary habits, their hygiene, everything that happens. Basically, you cannot just maltreat a child and let you go and no one will know, because somebody's going to be watching you. Somebody is going to be watching you. So they are under very strict monitoring of the government, and the government basically just takes responsibility. God forbid, if anything happens, maybe there's a fire or maybe there's an incident, the government is responsible for that. So just know that if you're taking your child to that kind of daycare center, it's more like the government is taking responsibility. The second point that I would like to note is that with this kind of licensed daycare, you can get child subsidy. So child subsidy, I have a video where I talked about benefits you can get in Canada. You can check out that video, that will give you more information. If you want to get childcare subsidy, you can only have this if your child is in a licensed daycare. If your child is in an unlicensed daycare, you would not get childcare subsidy. And with childcare subsidy, like I mentioned in that video, the government even pays this money directly to the school. So if it's not licensed, there's no way the government will pay this money. Okay, so this is, if you know that you were considering getting childcare subsidy, I would just say that maybe consider putting your child in a licensed daycare. Now, the third thing that I would like to say about this kind of daycare is, because they are in bigger buildings, or you know, that kind of setting, children are grouped. So I mentioned in the home care center that everybody is together, but with this one, children are grouped because they have a lot of space, they have a lot of classrooms, they have a lot of facilities, they have different toys. So like for the first class, I think it's usually from infants till 17 months, then you have 18 to 30 months. So if you're the kind of person that you want your children to grow with, or you know, mix or socialize with people of their age, this may be a good option. The fourth point I'd like to make about a licensed daycare is that there's always backup. So there's nothing like oh, my teacher is sick, an emergency, I can't come in, so there's no school. No, they have backups. I remember when my daughter was in one of those classes, there were 2 of them in a class and an assistant. So the 2 of them are like trained early child care, I don't know what they call, early child care educators or something, and they have an assistant. So there's nothing like somebody is sick. Even if somebody is sick, even if one of the educators or one of the child caregivers is sick, they always have backup from other classes or from that are not in any class that can just take over of the running of the class. So you're always sure that there would always be school. There's nothing like I'm on vacation. However, when my child was in one of those schools like I mentioned, there are some days that they said is training days for the school or something like that, or I think training for the childcare educators. They already told me from the beginning, before she even registered, that okay, this day and this day is marked as so 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 day. So just know when you are bringing your child on that day, that when you're enrolling your child in that school, from the beginning you already know that okay, on so so date the school is not going to be available. So you already start making plans. Also, what I've observed about the licensed daycare is most of the teachers are trained, like really trained. Like some of them even go as far as having diploma or even bachelor's degree in this early childhood education. Like they didn't just get the certificate and that's it. Like they actually went to school and did some courses and all of that, passed it before they got to that level. So, and I remember why I'm saying this is because I had a conversation with the head teacher of one of the licensed daycare, and I'm like, why are your prices so high? And she's like, see, most of these children, most of these staff, like they have diplomas in this thing. And obviously there's no way they can not pay them well, so that's why some of them are pretty expensive. One other point that I'd like to note about the licensed daycare is that there are more children in a class. If you want your child to mix up with more people, it just depends on what your child likes. If your child does not like crowd or does not like to see too many faces, maybe the home care center may be better. But if you want your child to socialize, if you have a child that is very bubbly, very out there, very outspoken, I think the other one, the licensed daycare, will be better. So like I mentioned, these are just some of the characteristics and features of some of the home care and the licensed daycare. Make your own decision based on what I have mentioned, and also speak to people. If you have people who have used any of these kinds of daycare, they will also be able to advise you on what to do. Please give this video a thumbs up. Please share it with your friends and with your family. Please subscribe to my channel if you're yet to, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.